Hi there. Next in the Meet My Mentor series is the legend. That is Jane Goodall, the lady who's very famous about chimpanzees and gorillas. I'm sure you've heard of her. If not, there'll be plenty of links below, and highly recommend the movie Jane, it's called. Came out in 2017. It is available on Netflix currently. So how did I meet Jane Goodall, and what's the story, and then what are some of the lessons and inspiration that we can take from a truly incredible lady. So in 1999, I had a business partner, Nick, and his wife, Melanie, and we went on holiday for 2 weeks. They knew I was keen on fishing, and they knew somebody who knew a fair bit about fishing and was actually running a charter business in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam. And it just so happens that Nick went to a private school. At that private school, he was the same age as Jane Goodall's son, Hugo, aka Grub. Okay, Grub. So there is a picture of Grub in here, which I will show you when he was a little baby. There we go, that's Grub with his mother. So we went to, there we go, he's there. So Jane Goodall, if you don't know, is famous for the plight of chimpanzees and gorillas, and we'll talk more about that when I swing back to it at the end. But probably nobody on the planet that has ever done more for deepening our understanding of chimps and gorillas and conservation issues surrounding all that sort of stuff. Okay, so come back to that. But basically, we went to see Grub. We stayed at his house, which is actually where he was living at the time, on the beach in Dar es Salaam, and it was actually her house. Okay, so I got to meet her briefly. She wasn't there for the whole time. Absolute workaholic. But it was really probably the first time I'd ever met an individual up close and personal, and I'm very fortunate to stay in their home for 2 weeks and, you know, ask about her, ask Grub about her, speak to her about what she did and, you know, her passion. And I think it was the first time I really met somebody, I met a number of people since, who just completely and utterly inspired me with their dedication, their passion, their commitment, the fact they'd found their purpose, overcome so many different obstacles basically to deepen the plight that they were trying to achieve, you know, which is basically bring about better understanding of chimps, of the natural environment, of what we're doing to the world, about conservation issues and all that sort of thing. Okay, so went over there, spent time in her home. We also went fishing. I caught the biggest fish I've ever caught, a 15-foot tiger shark that I fought for 3 hours. We obviously had to release it. It was about half the size of the boat, not the sort of thing you keep anyway. So yeah, had a great kind of fishing trip, saw giant land turtles that were bigger than me. But yeah, the thing that I remember the most is actually being inspired by what she had done and what she had achieved. Okay, so I think, you know, I've just pulled out and made a note of some of the quotes from the movie and from her personal story. But she's basically a young, untrained girl that nobody believed could do anything. You know, what do you know? You're not a scientist. You don't have this kind of background. You don't have grey hair, and you know, haven't been around the world. And with her husband, she essentially decided to document the story of chimpanzees and photograph them. And, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it now, about document versus create. And that's really what she did. She documented with photographs, with video, and then she really sort of became a public phenomenon when National Geographic started featuring her, following her. She was then on like Blue Peter, and she became a kind of a celebrity, if you like, in the conservation world. When, if you think back to that time, how much interest was there in like the 70s and the 80s and the 90s on conservation, sustainability. So she really was a forerunner. And then I remember watching the film and she's being asked, like, so how long are you going to do this? And she's like, well, I'm going to do this until the day that I die. Okay. So I strongly recommend. Book's good, video's amazing, the movie, you know, really watch it. And for me, the key point is that actually a concept that comes from Strategic Coach and Dan Sullivan, that if you could only do one thing for the rest of your life that motivates you and fascinates you, what would that be? Both personally and professionally. Okay, and this lady found her one thing. Jeremy Gilley, the founder of Peace One Day, found his one thing 20 years ago, world peace. Okay, spreading the word, having a day of peace that then is a week of peace. And when you meet Jason Vale, juicing, you know, getting the world juicing, being healthy, all of that sort of stuff. When you meet these people that are focused on that one thing that makes a massive difference to people, that they're passionate about, that they're willing to dedicate the rest of their lives to, it's those people that make huge and massive change. And I can't profess to being one of those people. I think, you know, now, a lot more clear about being a philanthropic entrepreneur and making a big difference, helping to solve some of the world's biggest problems, things like homelessness, but more importantly, inspiring other people to do that as well. Hence working with Kevin Cahill, hence, passion for what we do with PPP, about transforming people's lives, creating more accommodation, all of that sort of thing. Okay, so don't worry if you haven't found your one thing, like somebody like Jane Goodall or Jeremy Gilley. Most people don't. All right, it's something to aspire to. It's something to work towards. To keep doing this sort of watching these kind of videos, watching Netflix, inspiring documentaries, reading books. All right, all the time is helping us to make a greater and greater impact, right? And that's really what I talk about. That's what I'm passionate about doing. How can I help you? How can I help more and more people have a greater impact, positive impact on the world, and take inspiration from people like this? Okay, so strongly recommend that. Watch the movie, have a think about your one thing. Money was no object, success was guaranteed, you knew you could not fail. What would be the one thing that would fascinate you and motivate you for the rest of your life? Okay, because if you find it, it's incredibly powerful, it's fascinating, it's motivating, it makes you want to do videos like this and do documentaries and face lots of criticism and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so very fortunate, as I say, to sometimes chance coincidences, people that you know, upgrading, expanding your network. I never knew this lady, all right, 7 degrees of separation, but I had a business partner who went to school with her son, got to stay in her house, 3 degrees of separation, got to meet her personally and was inspired ever since from what she has done and what she's achieved. All right, so Jane Goodall, we salute you, I salute you. Hope that's good content for you. Makes you think, watch the movie, read actually there's loads of books. So Chimpanzees of Gombe, Patterns of Behavior, Innocent Killers, Through a Window, Visions of Caliban on Chimpanzees and People. So she made a lot of connections between chimps and people, and then quite a few books for if you've got kids. The Chimpanzee Family, The Chimpanzee Family Book, Grub the Bush Baby, the guy that I met and went fishing with, My Friends the Wild Chimpanzees, My Life with Chimpanzees and With Love. Okay, so I strongly recommend her books, her movies, and then so what she achieved, what are some of the key things? So check out, if you want to, the Jane Goodall Institute for Wildlife Research and Conservation. All right, so 1,490 acres of habitat protected. 5,000 chimpanzees and gorillas living in habitats that Jane Goodall Institute protects. Amazing, 5,000 of them. 130 communities supported worldwide, and 4,900 plus projects led by young people through the Jane Goodall Roots and Shoots organisation. Okay, so really quite incredible what she did. She blazed the trail. The next steps are up to us. It's a global community conservation organisation, okay, protecting chimpanzees, inspiring people to conserve the natural world that we all share. We improve the lives of people, animals, and the environment. Everything is connected. Everyone, including you, can make a difference. All right, hope that's inspirational. Check her out. See you next time.